Hey guys, something a bit different in this video. We're going to be looking at the top 8 most cloned guitar pedals. So this could be handy for you if you're getting into the hobby to see what you can clone, some of the really popular ones that people clone. Or it could be a bit of a checklist for you to see if you've built all of these pedals. I'll talk a little bit about each pedal as we go through and just give you some general tips and advice. Now I should also say as well, these results were actually from a survey that I started on the Mad Bean forum, just to get everybody's general opinion of what they thought were the most common that they've seen on the forums, and the projects that the common projects that keep coming up over and over the years. These guys have been building pedals for many years, longer than I have. I'm probably up to about 12 years or something, much longer, into the 90s, some even into the 80s. They've seen the clones come and go, and they've seen the many different varieties of the same circuit that have been redone and renamed. So their opinion is very valuable, obviously, for this particular video. And I tend to agree with the results of the survey as well. So let's start with number 8, and number 8 is actually the most ambiguous because it's actually other. I had a few people vote on other, which basically meant that the other 9 pedals that I had, they didn't agree they were the most common, that it should have been something else. And some of the feedback I got from that was a couple of people mentioned the Baz Fuss, which I agree with, it's very common, and the Electra and the Way Huge Red Llama, Small Clone and Small Stone. Those classic pedals, LPB1 is probably another one as well. Those classic pedals that you see that everyone wants to build, they're very simple to build, they're all analog and straightforward, and they've had many different names, and we've seen them come up over and over again, but they didn't fit into the next top 7. So we'll go on to number 7, and coming in at number 7 is the Proko Rat. This is one that comes up a lot. When I built this one 10 years ago, it was one of the very first earliest builds that I built. The LM308 was a little bit tricky to find, but it was still around. These days they're actually very hard to find, so it's not the most simple build in respect to get if you want a genuine LM308 with its wonderful slew rate, but you can use substitutes that come very close, and a lot of people who have done A/B tests between an LM308 and another op amp have found that there's been very little difference between the two anyway. Number 6 is the Super Hardon. This is a very high output boost, very simple to assemble as well. Crackle is not okay, and you can actually get circuits that actually have addressed the crackle okay problem with this circuit. There's different variations of the circuit, of course, and people have expanded and modified on those as well. You could also look at the Box of Rock, which is basically 3 Super Hardons in a row as well. 3 Super Hardon circuits, one into the other. From memory, I built that one a long time ago as well. So it's a great boost, and that's probably the reason why it keeps getting brought up and reinvented and cloned a lot. Incredibly easy circuit to put together as well, with very minimal parts. So coming up at number 5 is the MXR Distortion Plus. 2 examples of MXR Distortion Pluses that I've built. This was the second pedal that I ever built. This is a later one, obviously. It's about a quarter of the size of the second one that I built. It's a very simple circuit to put together. I'm fairly certain the PCB in this one is my Vulcan drive, which is a MXR Distortion Plus / Ross Distortion Plus / DOD 250. The reason why I say / is because they're basically the same circuit, with only the most minor difference between the 3 of those circuits. So all 3 of those circuits really fit into the one category here, which is why I think it belongs at number 5, because you see those 3 circuits come up a lot, and they're all essentially the same thing. So it's another easy one, and it's a good one for beginners as well. It's not overly complicated to build. So coming in at number 4 is the Kalm Center. This one has increased its popularity in recent years. Its popularity has soared in the last few years, particularly with the do-it-yourself options available now. Due to its rarity and expensive price tag, a lot of people can't afford $2,000 for an overdrive pedal. So the next best thing is to clone your own, or to buy one from a manufacturer that is keeping up with the demand and has made their own version of the clone. So that's two examples that I've built. The left one is an etched PCB from Mad Bean, and the right one is a Grind Customs PCB. Both sound great. It's a good overdrive, but it is not a simple overdrive though, so you probably want a bit of experience to build one of those. Coming in at number 3 is the Fuzz Face. Here are 3 examples of pedals that have Fuzz Face, that are essentially Fuzz Faces on the inside. This is a traditional Fuzz Face. This is a MOSFET Fuzz Face, the DBE metal oxide, and this is a one knob fuzz, which is basically a silicon Fuzz Face. I have more examples in there. There are so many circuits that are based on that 2 gain stage original germanium Fuzz Face. The only challenge you have with a Fuzz Face is to get the germanium transistors. It can be a little bit pricey to buy as a set, but there are sets out there. Of course, you're looking at someone that sells them as well, or you can measure them yourself, which is not overly complicated. But it is a great candidate for a do-it-yourself pedal, because most manufacturers won't produce these in large quantities because there's a little bit of stuffing around to get the right values of germanium transistors. Germanium transistors are becoming a little bit difficult to find, and getting them measured at the right, getting in. I can imagine that a commercial builder buying truckloads of germanium transistors and finding that they're all no good is probably not going to be a very economically viable project for them to take on. So this is definitely something that I think belongs in the top 3 for do-it-yourself, for a do-it-yourself pedal, for that reason. I wasn't actually expecting this to be number 2, but after reading the general consensus of the community and thinking about it myself, I tend to agree. Number 2 is the Big Muff. This is an example of the Big Muff that I built, and this is actually about the number 4 or 5 pedal that I built myself. So it was early on in the piece. It was one that I wanted early on, and it's a good do-it-yourself effect, because it's simple to put together. It's got a great sound, that wall of fuzz. There's lots and lots of variants of the Big Muff, so even once you've built one, you may go back for another one. There's op-amp versions, there's the old Sovtech versions, triangle, ram's head. There's a ton of them, and they all sound very different from each other. Also has a awesome tone control, one of my favorite tone controls in any pedal. One of my favorite one knob tone controls in any pedal. It's fantastic. Coming up at number 1 most cloned pedal in the galaxy is the Tube Screamer. Probably not much surprise to you, maybe. A little bit of a surprise to me, to be honest, and in my personal opinion, I'd probably put that at more like number 3. I think the Fuzz Face and the Big Muff are probably more cloned than the Tube Screamer, but it definitely belongs at the top of the list, because I do see a lot of them, a lot of people cloning the Tube Screamer. It's a classic overdrive. Again, it's got those properties: easy to build, great sound, and it's just suited for a do-it-yourself pedal because for those reasons. There's no difficult to find parts. The parts that are in this pedal are just so common that you can get them anywhere, and so that's probably one reason why it's very popular. It's also very easy to mod. There's mods that you can do to it that are just so basic. So it could be part of the reason that's contributed to its popularity. Another variant, of course, is the Love Pedal Eternity. That's my do-it-yourself guitar pedal night drive, and it is very similar to the Tube Screamer, except it doesn't have the buffer on the front. Gives it a different sound. I actually prefer the sound of this, to be honest. It might sound like sacrilege, but just personal preference. I really do like the sound of the Love Pedal Eternity. So that's 2 examples of Tube Screamers. Again, I've built many more than that. It's just one of those pedals that that keeps coming up, and it's got the longevity as well. Like a lot of the top 4 or 5 have the longevity, except for the Klon. They've got the longevity that years go by and they just keep coming up. New people start joining the hobby, they go back to these classic pedals and they build them again. Their popularity seems to stick around for a very long time. Whereas, I hate to say it, some like the Klon, they might die off a bit. They get popular, people get over them. You know, a bit of a fad involved with that. Some pedals have that effect. These classic ones don't. They just keep coming up. People keep building them. So that's my top 8 most cloned guitar pedals. I hope you enjoyed. I hope it's given you some ideas and it's a brief overview of some of the popular projects out there. They're all very, very simple. Most of them are very simple to put together. There's generally not many difficult parts to find, apart from some of the ones that I mentioned in the other, in the position number 8, other. Small clone and small stone, things like that can be a little bit tricky, and the Klon, but basically all the other ones are quite simple to put together and simple to get parts for, and there's tons of PCBs or kits out there for these pedals as well. So there's something for everybody pretty much, which makes a really good which makes them a very good do-it-yourself pedal options. So once again, thank you for watching the video, and don't forget to subscribe for more, and give me a thumbs up if you like the video and a comment. And what do you think is the most common pedal built? Do you agree with the list or not? I'd be interested to see what you guys think, because obviously a list like this is somewhat opinion based. So yeah, I'd be interested to see what you think is the most the absolute most top pedal that's been cloned. Thanks again. See you in the next video. Cheers.